You can boil an egg in 90 seconds, or walk out of a bank with $500,000.
No masks. No gunfire. No witnesses.
3 Canadians did just that, over and over again, leaving the FBI baffled. For years, they were ghosts with stopwatches. This is the true story of how they became legends, and how one careless mistake tore it all apart. But before we uncover how this smooth-talking trio fooled America, hit that subscribe button and stay with us until the end, because this story doesn't just end with a bang, it ends with poetic justice. It began, not in a dusty desert or a neon-drenched city, but in the quiet corridors of Canada's capital, Ottawa, 1973. Patty Mitchell, sharp, persuasive, dangerously charming, wasn't just another petty thief. He had vision. And he had his eye on something bold, a shipment of gold bars being temporarily stored in an airport warehouse. Joining him was Lionel Wright, the meticulous one. The planner. The quiet guy who never forgot a detail. He handled logistics, disguises, getaway cars, guns, safe houses. But what they needed was muscle and daring, someone reckless enough to face the heat. They found it in Stephen Reed, a 22-year-old prison escapee with fire in his gut and nothing to lose. This unlikely trio wasn't aiming for cash registers or corner stores. They were going after gold. Real gold. The kind that melts in your hands and whispers power in your ears. To steal from the mint, they needed someone on the inside. Patty, ever the manipulator, set up a poker game with a gullible airport worker named Gary Gooey Tun. They let him win. Over and over again. With drinks, charm, and just enough fake friendship, they reeled him in. Days later, the signal came. The gold was in. Tonight was the night. Dressed as a furious airport supervisor, Patty stormed the warehouse and demanded to see a missing maintenance man. The guard, confused, turned toward the door, just in time to meet the barrel of a gun. And just like that, the Stopwatch Gang's first heist was complete. Clean, fast, and silent. They vanished with what would be known as the largest gold theft in Canadian history. The plan was flawless, except for one thing. Gooey Tun cracked. The police leaned hard, and he broke. Wiretaps caught Patty boasting about the heist. Worse, when Stephen was arrested months later on an unrelated charge, investigators found gold flakes in his closet. But not just any gold. These flakes matched the exact impurities of a specific dory bar stolen from the Ottawa shipment. Forensic alchemy had turned glitter into evidence. The gang was arrested. Sentenced. Done. Or so the world thought. In prison, most men count days. These 3 counted opportunities. Lionel was the first to disappear, slipping through a fence during a routine walk, climbing into a waiting car, vanishing like smoke. Stephen pulled his own trick. On a community visit, he sweet-talked a guard into grabbing lunch. By dessert, Stephen was gone. But Patty staged a medical emergency. Tobacco and push-ups triggered a fake heart attack. As he was wheeled out to an ambulance, 2 doctors, Lionel and Stephen in disguise, intercepted the stretcher. They escaped into the night. In 1980, America was in chaos. Crime was rising. The FBI was overwhelmed. Nobody noticed 3 polite Canadians slipping into the country. Patty, Stephen, and Lionel rebranded themselves. They were no longer thieves. They were professionals. And they had a new tool, a stopwatch. Their strategy: walk into a bank. Calm. Confident. Take control. Grab the cash. Walk out. All in 90 seconds. Their spree began in San Diego. One bank. Then another. Then another. They moved like dancers, with perfect timing and no violence. No one got hurt. No one even screamed. Security cameras caught little. Alarms barely had time to trigger. The press dubbed them the Stopwatch Gang. They were unstoppable, but even the sharpest blades dull with time. The FBI had no leads.
No fingerprints. No faces.
Just one clue: precise timing and surgical precision. But Stephen started to unravel. He drank too much. Talked too loud. Friends got suspicious. Money flowed too freely. And worse, the gang was spending faster than they could steal. So they planned one final job. A big one. The dream score. $250,000 in San Diego. But it didn't go to plan. This job required patience. No more stopwatch. They had to wait inside the bank for the guard to bring the cash. But the truck was late. Excruciatingly late. Sweat dripped. Makeup ran. Their disguises, fake beards, sunglasses, were barely holding up. Finally, the guard arrived. Stephen whispered, "Don't be a hero." They walked out with the cash. The biggest robbery in San Diego's history. But they made one critical mistake. They didn't burn the evidence. Lionel was supposed to destroy everything: wigs, bandages, disguises. Instead, he dumped the bag in a public bin and stuck around to make sure the garbage truck arrived. But fate had other plans. An elderly woman found the bag and, curious, called the police. The FBI now had Exhibit A. Inside, the same clothes seen in surveillance photos. A band-aid. And a fingerprint. The FBI ran the print. Nothing. These guys had no criminal history in the US. But then, a busted drug dealer looking to cut a deal gave them what they needed: real names. Real prints. The thumbprint matched Stephen Reed. The Stopwatch Gang's luck had finally run out. The FBI had their break. The discarded band-aid and fingerprint, once anonymous, were now matched to a name: Stephen Reed, a Canadian fugitive with a record of prison escape and armed robbery. The feds had connected the dots. The Stopwatch Gang wasn't just a clever crew. They were escapees, repeat offenders, and the masterminds behind Canada's most infamous gold heist. Now, the hunt had a face. But tracking ghosts is one thing, catching them is another. Stephen and Patty were already gone. After the San Diego job, they split up, scattering like birds disturbed from a wire. Lionel, the quiet planner, was left behind to clean up. And that green garbage bag would be the beginning of his end. He thought he could wait for the trash truck to arrive. Instead, two patrol officers pulled into the alley.
Lionel froze.
He walked away, pretending to be just another pedestrian. But the damage was done. Within hours, the FBI had the evidence in a lab, and Lionel's nerves started to crack. While Stephen was pulled over in a routine traffic stop, he had no idea that it would end with multiple FBI agents surrounding him at gunpoint.
No dramatics. No chasse.
Just cold steel and tighter handcuffs. Meanwhile, Lionel was arrested in his sleep, dragged from bed before sunrise by agents who finally knew who they were dealing with. They searched his belongings. It was all there. Maps. Timelines. Hotel receipts. A trail of quiet, damning efficiency. But there was one name still missing from the list of arrests: Patty Mitchell. Patty Mitchell vanished. He wasn't in the country. No credit cards, no bank accounts. He disappeared into the folds of small towns, fake names, and cash-only motels. For the FBI, this was personal. Patty had made the Bureau look like fools. Now he was on their 10 most wanted list. A profile was drafted. Television stations aired his photo. Agents watched every airport and border. And finally, it worked. In 1983, after years of searching, agents finally caught Patty Mitchell. But that wasn't the end. In 1995, 12 years into his sentence, he escaped. Just like before, he had a plan. Just like before, he slipped out like mist through bars. It was as if the Stopwatch Gang had returned. Only this time, he was alone. It took another national manhunt and a tip from a TV broadcast to bring him down again. This time, for good. Patty was sentenced to 68 years in prison. He would die behind bars. By the late 1990s, the Stopwatch Gang was history. But what happened to its members would surprise everyone. Lionel Wright, the logistics genius, was released in 1994 after serving his time. In a bizarre twist, he had managed the prison's canteen so meticulously that Corrections Canada hired him after release. From heist architect to trusted employee of the system he once defied. Stephen Reed, the charming outlaw, wrote a novel while in prison, Jackrabbit Parole. It gained attention from literary circles, and from poet Susan Musgrave, who eventually married him. He was paroled, reborn, but his past wasn't finished with him. In 1999, Stephen was arrested for another bank robbery. Even after marriage, success, and redemption, he couldn't stay away. The rush had been too strong. The adrenaline, too addictive. The Stopwatch Gang hadn't just stolen money. They'd stolen their futures. The Stopwatch Gang was praised by some, even romanticized. They never fired a shot, people said. They were polite, clean. But here's the truth, they just hadn't been challenged. Had anyone resisted, pulled a weapon, panicked, it could have ended in blood. No one died in their robberies, but the trauma left behind never made the headlines. And as they spent their fortunes, lived under fake names, and wrote novels, there were still tellers who trembled, guards who never forgot the barrel of a gun, families torn by fear. In the end, it wasn't a shootout that brought down the Stopwatch Gang. It wasn't informants or backstabbing. It was science. One band-aid, one print, one green garbage bag. Forensic analysts didn't just match evidence. They shattered myths. It proved something powerful. Even the smartest criminals leave shadows. And those shadows? They never disappear. By the 2000s, the Stopwatch Gang became a chapter in criminal law. Podcasts, books, documentaries. They were the guys who did it clean. The gentlemen thieves. The ones who could have walked out of Hollywood. But to law enforcement, they were reminders. Reminders that precision can be undone by carelessness. That one band-aid is all it takes. And that no plan, no matter how brilliant, survives forever. Patty Mitchell died in prison. Lionel faded from public view, quietly living a reformed life. Stephen, after being jailed again in 1999, passed away in 2018, after a long illness. Their story ended, not with gunfire or glory, but with slow descent into the consequences of lives once lived on adrenaline and arrogance. They thought they were untouchable, ghosts with a stopwatch. But even ghosts leave footprints. Their tale wasn't just about crime, it was about timing. And the moment time ran out. If you found this story gripping, chilling, or even unbelievable, don't forget to subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. We're bringing you more true crime stories that expose the lies, the masterminds, and the moments justice finally catches up. Until next time, remember, the perfect crime doesn't exist.